I
Hi.
am Jessica, and this is Shayna Hiller I have today. She's a yoga teacher and founder of Build Your Personal Yoga Business. So, welcome, Shayna. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me.
My
And yeah.
Thank you for having me.
So, your website says that your Build Your Own Yoga Business website says that you went from nearly giving up on teaching to tripling your income in less than 2 years. So, I would like to get into that and see what you've done to help yoga businesses and yoga teachers start, making money, and how you've done it as well. But first, before we get into all that, can you just tell me a little bit about your background, how long you've been a yoga teacher, and where you teach?
Totally. Yeah. I've been, first of all, thank you so much for
Yes.
being interested in this.
Yeah.
It's very important, I think, and it can help a lot of people. I have been teaching yoga for 15 years. I'm originally from New Jersey. Did the whole, went to college and whatnot, found that I just didn't really find a passion. And while I was in college, I got exposed to yoga, and I just fell in love with it. So I needed to figure out, how can I learn more about this? Because I knew it was affecting me on not just a physical level, but also energetically, emotionally, spiritually. And I was only 19 years old. And so 18 years old actually at the time. So I decided to do a yoga teacher training because my yoga teacher at the time was encouraging me. She said, listen, if you have the time, go to Costa Rica. So I did my training there. And so I've been teaching ever since. And it wasn't until, and where I teach right now, I live in Los Angeles. I'm sure I'll answer the other question. I live in LA, and I currently only teach at one studio. I teach only 4 public yoga classes a week. The studio is called the Yoga Collective in Venice Beach, California. And this is new because for many years, probably for the past decade, I have been teaching all over, 5 studios, sometimes up to 20 classes a week. So for me to actually be able to say with joy that I only teach 4 yoga classes a week, yes, it's pretty awesome, I have to say.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And Costa Rica yoga teacher training sounds amazing too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. So then you also have an ebook and an e-course on how to build your yoga business. And how long have you been in this sphere of helping other yoga teachers build their business? And how did you get started with that?
I've been doing that for about 2.5 years. I got started with that because after my yoga teacher training and after teaching for several years, I got really steeped into yoga and meditation as obviously a practice for myself and teaching. And then just by who knows what magical, graceful energies, I was exposed to the idea of entrepreneurialism and finding your purpose and finding your voice and all of this stuff about I have some mission to serve. And I started investing in various programs for entrepreneurs or people who want to take their life and their career to the next level. I must say that even though I was curious about it, I had a lot of resistance because in the beginning of my yoga career, I was really, I was not comfortable with charging money for my services. I hadn't learned anything about business, and I do not come from a family of entrepreneurs. So I just felt strange about it. Yet there was still something there because I saw other people who were serving on a much bigger level and opening up to that flow of abundance. So I had a really good friend who is also a yogi, and he's also an entrepreneur. And he suggested, he's like, listen, if you want to, make more money, why don't you start thinking of yourself as an entrepreneur instead of just running around to teach yoga at studios all the time? And I'm like, well, how? He goes, well, you have information that people want. You've been making a living teaching yoga for the past 10 years. So why don't you teach people how to do that and just give them something for free? So I wrote the ebook and I started doing some YouTube videos, and that's how my business started on that realm of helping yoga teachers build their business, and you could call it their confidence, because if you have confidence, you could do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. And I've talked to a lot of different yoga studio owners and I don't know, people in this realm. I feel like they have a hard time with the money part of things and the business part of things a lot of the times. Yeah.
Totally.
So I think that's really cool that you've taken that on as a mission and a goal of helping other yoga.
Especially, totally. And especially coming from someone who like, because I get few and far between, because I have a YouTube channel, and few and far between. And they're usually like people from India will be like, you shouldn't be asking for money for yoga. And I get that feeling of, oh, I know, because I used to feel like that. And, you know, and I can go forever, and I do in my e-course and my, you know, personal coaching. But in terms of like, especially in the Western society and our relationship with money, and like really understanding money as part of our spiritual path, and making sure that we still are exercising non-attachment and service and non-greed. It's very subtle. And so I go about it a different way than you know, you see in social media. People are just like, the more the better, and it's really obvious that there's a sense of greediness. And this is really more about mindfulness and tapping into your purpose, because your purpose, when you're aligned with that as a yoga teacher or yoga professional, wellness professional, you're going to receive more money for that because it's aligned with the abundance of yours. Anyway.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. So tell me what it was like when you first started teaching yoga, and then just, I mean, when you said you nearly gave up on teaching, I mean, what was that point like for you?
Yeah. Well, so going back to running around teaching 15 to 20 classes a week, when I first started teaching yoga, I will say that, you know, some people do a yoga teacher training and they don't even have the intention of teaching, or they just do it for their own personal growth and they never teach. I wanted to teach immediately, and I started right away, and nobody came to my classes. I was teaching at, you know, a very small women's fitness center, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was getting paid maybe $15 a class. And, you know, because I didn't have any formal business training or understanding of like really what my vision was, I felt like a chicken without a head. And it kind of just escalated. And then I moved from New Jersey. I was living in New Jersey at the time. I moved to New York City, and I was teaching there and taking the subway all over the city, teaching back-to-back classes and not feeling inspired and not being able to make ends meet. I was living in a studio apartment with a roommate. Literally, our beds were 2 feet apart. And I loved her and I loved the apartment, but I mean, that's all I could do. You know, I was sharing a studio, and I was like, all right, this is it. This is the life of a yoga teacher. And I subscribed to that. I like believed that it was kind of a dead end street for me. And I was very close to giving up, because I'm like, well, this path cannot lead to abundance, and I have to create something else. And then I just chose to pivot. And even if I didn't know how it was going to look, I felt like because I was exposing myself to other modalities of career, understanding abundance and purpose. I'm like, but I'm good at teaching yoga, but I like it. So how can I make this more lucrative? And I knew that if I gave up, I knew it intuitively. Like I couldn't give up. Actually, I couldn't. I wanted to. I started looking for jobs at like retail stores.
Gosh, yeah.
You know, so it was getting to that point. But I knew I needed to figure out a way, and that's where I started using my resources, using tools, reading books, and started taking action, which was scary.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then how were you able to turn things around and actually start making money? Is it just luck, or did you?
Yeah, I choose to say, because a lot of clients is that they say it's just luck. I say there's no such thing as luck.
Yeah.
We all have an intuition. We all have some sort of inner intelligence and guidance that we can either listen to or not. And the listening to it is usually will require some sort of an action that we normally don't take. And it's kind of like being in a yoga class when an instructor is like, all right, it's time for inversions. And I'm like, I'm going to go to the bathroom now, right? If you go into it, even if you can't do a handstand, you still are going to go through an experience that's like, whoa, this is scary. I've never done this before. Or wow, this is exciting.
Right.
The way in which we relate to it is unique and personal. But just because it's scary does not mean it's bad. So for me, what really shifted things is I had always had this dream of moving to California, moving across the country. I was like, how am I ever going to afford that? How am I going to, like, all these little technical things? I used to get caught up in the logistics of things. How am I going to get yoga teaching jobs? And call it grace, call it timing, you know, I don't know what it was, but something came in and I just chose. I figured it out and I used my savings. I found a 6-month lease in a studio apartment that was much less money than I was paying in New York City. And it was my own.
Yeah.
Was it glamorous? No, but it was right in the heart of Venice Beach where I wanted to be. I contacted one yoga studio. I told myself, even though I can't pay my rent on one yoga studio, I contacted them. It was somehow aligned. And they said, yes, when you get here, let's have a meeting. We'd love to have you teach for us. And to me, that was like a grounding cord. I'm like, I got a place to teach and I'm going to trust the rest. And I shipped my car and within 10 days, I moved to LA and I've been there ever since. And it's been 5 years.
5 years since you moved?
Yeah. And it's grown and it's evolved and I think it's through meditation and trusting in the unknown, but taking that leap of faith based on intuition, not based on greed, not based on fear, but really based on, I need to do this for my health.
Right.
You know, so and that's what I teach. And I think it's important to guide people into making sure that is their intuition and like being okay with finding like one step at a time, nothing abrupt. You know, I did it in a very step-by-step manner, but ultimately I did go into something that I didn't know how it was going to turn out. But if I didn't do it, I would have regretted it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what turned things around. And choosing, I will say, to see myself as an entrepreneur. I think a lot of yoga teachers, they are very attached or like at the mercy of a studio. And here I am I'm not necessarily, you're not an employee, but you're an independent contractor. It's like, okay, sure. Like, and we're like kind of desperate to get classes and desperate to sub. At least I was. Yeah. So I know how that feels. And it wasn't until I started seeing myself as, oh, I'm a business. And I have a say and I can say no to things and I can name my price. And whoa, that's like kind of crazy. And I started to own that and I started to gain the confidence around that. And it started to align me with really, you know, what I wanted financially and energetically, because some studios were stripping me of energy. I would teach one class for $30 and I'm done for the day. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Choosing where you wanted to be and making sure that you were putting yourself in the right places. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think you've already answered this, but so, I mean, just for other yoga teachers, or even, you've never actually been a yoga studio owner, but I don't know if you can speak for them specifically, but is it really possible for yoga teachers or yoga studio owners to make money and have a thriving business?
100,000% yes. 1,000,000% yes. To the extent that you believe that's true, absolutely. And studio owners as well. And it's an art for studio owners. I mean, you know, obviously having yoga teacher trainings as part of your program or workshops is probably crucial depending on where you live and how much your overhead is. Excuse me. And thinking outside the box. For yoga teachers, I mean, yeah, that's what I teach. I teach people how to be creative, how to think outside of the box. Yoga teaching is not limited to a studio. You know, it's not limited to teaching. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't teach in studios. It's a wonderful way to gain exposure, to share your skills, to even find your voice so that you can develop the confidence to perhaps offer corporate programs or workshops or retreats or work one-on-one with clients privately. And to know that, I'll give you this little tidbit, but yoga is not just postures, right? As we all know, yoga is life. And if you study yogic philosophy, it's everything from your food to, you know, like your self-care to meditation, your breath. And so as a yoga teacher, you can offer life coaching. I mean, I don't call it life coaching. You can call it wellness coaching, because yoga and life and wellness and health are all in the same umbrella. Now, I think it's important as a leader, as a yoga healer, to feel comfortable enough to share your magic in that way, which is why, yeah, it's important to do training. It's important to do even business training. It's important to continue building yourself so that you have the confidence. And that's why I start by sharing things for free. You know, I have a YouTube channel, I build loyalty, I build trust with my people, and that's a beautiful exchange. So yeah, thinking outside the box and being willing to put yourself out there. Many yoga teachers, the moment I say, why don't you start a YouTube channel? Like, oh, I don't like being on camera. I don't like being on camera either, but here we are.
Yeah, exactly. I would say the same thing. I think we're all pushing ourselves out of our comfort zones a little bit, but it's good, right?
Well, you know, and think of all the people that you're inspired by when you see them, just like we are, on a little Zoom meeting with all their stuff in the background. It's like so real. It's like you're human, and I am too. And it's important to be vulnerable, and step by step. It doesn't have to be intense, because if you're stressed out, that's also going to be evident, you know. But with breath, use it as a yoga practice.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's talk about marketing. Because that's what I do. And I know you teach that in your course as well. But what kind of marketing do you do as a yoga instructor? Do you do, I mean, I know you do a lot, but social media, blog, paid traffic, word of mouth, like what's good for you?
So as a yoga teacher versus as build your personal yoga business, they're different. Right. As a yoga teacher these days, I don't really market myself other than, you know, I teach yoga, and I don't even put my schedule up since I only teach at one studio. I used to, and for new yoga teachers, I would recommend either choose 2 social media outlets, unless of course you happen to be passionate about 4, you know, and you can somehow have the energy and time to tend to 4 media outlets, but I don't. In fact, I'm even getting away from Facebook a little bit, unless it is paid ads, which I only use for retreats and sometimes workshops. I also create events, and I'll invite people to events, whether it's a retreat or a workshop. But if you're a newer yoga teacher and you're teaching at studios, it's nice to put your schedule up so people know what you're doing, but make sure you're consistent about it. I have a Facebook business page, which I don't use as much anymore, but I did. I feel like there are phases for marketing. And for yoga teachers, it's important to like know that, so that you can use it, but not start feeling like you're forcing it, because things are going to flow and change. And so I've gone mostly to Instagram and to Instagram stories for marketing things like retreats, for yoga teaching, for my yoga teaching. I primarily do my 4 public classes, monthly workshops at local yoga studios, and retreats abroad, which word of mouth, actually running a retreat that has not a lot of people. This was my beginning, and trusting the process that it's going to build, because word of mouth spreads. So being okay with it being maybe not as lucrative. In the beginning of my career, I ran retreats that not only did I not break even, but I had to pay. I lost money. And I wanted to quit. I'm like, what the hell? This doesn't make logical sense. And gratefully, I had my own business coach at the time that says, you know what? This is actually the beginning. Being okay to not make money, but have an experience and learn. And I actually needed that. I needed that to like actually run a retreat and figure out all the kinks. You know, and then from there I kept going, and then like I quadrupled my attendance the following year because I stuck the course. So that's for yoga teachers. And then for my yoga business, YouTube is owned by Google,
right?
As far as I know.
Yes, it is.
Right. So I started a YouTube channel. I actually did a Google keyword search to figure out what people were looking for. And people are looking for how to make money teaching yoga, for how to become a yoga teacher, for how to succeed as a yoga teacher, because I know for myself, I struggled. So because I went through it, I feel like we can only teach what we have experienced. And you'll experience more. We're all growing in our lives, but there is probably a hurdle that you've overcome. And I was trying to figure out what that was. And I was trying to figure out something super glamorous. And no, I mean, I figured out how to go from wanting to give up on teaching to making enough money to live in Venice Beach, California on my own, you know, and having free time and traveling and all of this magical stuff. So I decided to create an info product for that, but I started with YouTube. And I have to say that I've grown my mailing list. I've been selling product purely from YouTube. It's magical. So if you are willing to put yourself out there and you have something to offer people, I do have my ebook, which upsells to my course. It's a really powerful tool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I occasionally do paid ads, but I'm not big with that right now. I probably could be, but not yet. Not right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess what's the most effective marketing method for you? But it mostly is the YouTube.
YouTube for sure. YouTube and word of mouth, I would say, are probably, the most powerful because they have like a really big reach. Don't underestimate the power of word of mouth.
Yeah.
And like getting out there with physical human beings and going on a coffee date and like doing workshops or whatever it is, because especially with all the social media and technology, it's easy to hide behind the screen. And while that can be effective, your energy is the most effective, your physical presence.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And what about blogs? Have you done much in the way of blogs?
Yes. I have a website. I was writing regular blogs on my regular Shayna Hiller website. I don't really do it for my yoga business, but my blogs have shifted more so to my YouTube channel, obviously, because I feel like I'm better at speaking, doing video than I am at writing. I think we all have a modality that works. So a lot of my clients, my coaching, my business coaching clients, when I present the opportunity, hey, why don't you do a YouTube channel? They're like, it's like a hard no. It's like not going to happen. But what I do get often is, well, I love writing.
Yeah. Right.
And there's this really like sincere knowing and desire and energy in that direction. I say, go ahead. Because I don't have that. And I felt when I was blogging that I was forcing myself to do it. And it would take me so long. And so, but I felt like I should. So for many years, I forced myself. I got to blog. And I don't as often. I'll blog for other companies sometimes just for like cross promotion. But I think that my blogging these days goes more into my captions for Instagram. I write poetry and my blogging comes in the form of poems these days. So again, on that note of flow and evolution, I think that our voice and our message comes through in different ways. For some people, it's blogs. For some people, it's videos. For some people, it's poetry. For some people, it's dance. For some people, it's a beautiful piece of art. For some people, it's a meal. So I don't blog it much anymore.
Yeah. But do what you're going to be able to accomplish and what you're passionate about doing.
Yeah, because it's going to come through. There's a subtle energy, I believe. Like if you're forcing something, it's the energy is, and it doesn't mean that you don't have to put forth effort. There's definitely effort, but that effort is fueled by passion or by joy or by like, I work really hard, but I'm enjoying it. I know that I'm like, oh, I got to do this. Just like when you're a kid and you're creating something.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yes.
So what kind of content do you share with your audience? I know you said you do like share your retreats and your events and things like that and like your schedule when you were just getting started and things like that. But like if you were going to be on a Facebook page or on a blog, if you did a blog, or even on your YouTube channel, like what kind of content, especially like as a yoga instructor, what kind of content would you share?
Yeah. Well, as a yoga instructor, so I'm also a health coach. Yeah. So a lot of my coaching is, like I mentioned earlier, I am a certified health coach in addition to being a yoga instructor. So I share a lot about self-love. That's really my mission right now. So through body, through nutrition, and I share through poetry. I share through images of food, self-care, and self-love. Now, as a yoga teacher, a yoga business coach, I share a lot of the problems and the issues and the blockages that yoga teachers are facing, such as finding their voice, confidence, the potential blocks to being able to make more money, which, I have about 50 or 60 videos on YouTube that happen to cover topics such as, how to weave spirituality into a yoga class, how to adapt your yoga classes to meet the needs of your students, how to hold space, literally, the blocks to self-confidence, gaining a healthier relationship with money. I mean, there are so many different specific topics that because of YouTube and because of my mailing list, people from all over the world are emailing me every single day saying, hey, I'm having this problem. What happens when a student, is doing their own thing in class and I'm trying to hold space, but they're like kind of blocking the energy, and how do I deal with that? How do I market my own retreat, or even start to figure out what my truth is so that it can differentiate me from other yoga teachers? How to avoid competition? All of this. So I go very detailed with the yoga business. And as a yoga teacher, really what I share, my content is what inspires me. I'll share that, and that inspires others. I also share my struggles with my eating disorder in the past and how I overcame that, and how yoga has actually helped me improve the quality of my life, my business, my relationships. It's all connected. So I try to share from personal experience as opposed to, hey, I know this. You know what I mean? Like, I know more. And it's like, but people want to know why. Like, who are you? So I share from experience as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and I love all the value that you're sharing. You're not like selling all the time, right? I mean, like sharing, you have to share the value. You have to give value. You have to help. You have to come from a place of wanting to help before you can sell.
That is so important. And I remember the first time I heard that, I've taken several business trainings as well. And the first time I heard that, I got pissed. I swear. I was like, what? I was like, I don't want to. I don't have time. How am I going to have the means to create 3 products? And like, what did they like? That's a waste of time. And I wanted to get right to the product. I wanted to get right to the selling. And I was, I was proven that doesn't work. And I invested thousands of dollars into a website, and I was going to create all this stuff. And it was like crickets. It's like, why isn't anyone coming? Because I had no free content. And I actually didn't really care. I was actually at the time more concerned with myself. And now I'm not. I'm more concerned with helping people, because all it takes, and this has to do with being a human, all it takes is truly helping someone and having that reflected back. Like, you helped me. I was able to gain 5 private yoga clients based on what you said, or, I feel more confident, and I was feeling anxious, and now I feel hopeful. That's the fuel that keeps me doing this. And the money, I can truly, honestly say is secondary. It's like a bonus. I find, oh my God, I made sale. Wow. But I get more excited when I find an email coming in from a client telling me about a success that they had. It's weird.
Awesome. Well, and you probably honestly have more money coming in because of that attitude that you have, and because of that focus and mentality on just wanting to help, because
and that's right? Exactly, because there's value and energy and prosperity come in so many forms. And these are things that I had heard. Of course, I had heard them in the past. They inspired me, but still there was this disbelief or something, or like, sounds good, but give me money,
Right.
But it's a very subtle, and this is why I think it's connected so much to even yoga in general, and the path of yoga, and non-attachment, and service, and karma yoga, and finding your passion, and alignment. I mean, I believe that we all have a unique mission, and it doesn't have to be like, I'm the next Gandhi, it doesn't have to be this big out there. It can be very subtle and in the background. And I feel that through meditation and self-care, it can help support that trusting in that deep inherent knowing of what we're meant to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, let's see. How does sharing information or I guess I could even say, does sharing information on your social media pages or blog or your YouTube channel, I suppose, bring in new clients?
Yeah, it always does. It is. I mean, just as much as word of mouth is powerful. When I'm sharing, people ask questions a lot. So it's interesting. I used to share more so, whether it's for health coaching, private yoga. I would always be like, hey, by the way, I offer health coaching sessions. and I have package rates and contact me for more information. I probably haven't done that in like 5 years because on my site, and by this time through social media, even like on Instagram or Facebook, you put what you do. And if you post enough, people are going to be interested enough to click on you and figure out, oh, she's a yoga teacher or she's a health coach. So I don't post, hey, come and be my client, but I'll post things I'm eating or where I'm teaching or an upcoming retreat or just things I'm doing with my life that people will ask questions and say, hey, what was that food that you were eating? Or what was the recipe of that? And I'll give them the recipe or I'll tell them the answer. And I'll also say, if you want to know more, I'm happy. And sometimes people will ask very intricate questions that I literally don't have time to answer, or they'll ask a question that's specifically geared toward them and I don't know enough about them and my response would not be adequate to them. So I'll say, listen, you should sign up for a coaching session with me because I won't be able to answer this unless I know more about you. So here, and rarely would someone say no. They're like, oh, really? Because it's like a personal invitation.
Right.
So it definitely leads to clients. And YouTube, especially because, what I share on YouTube is valuable information and it's also segmented. So it's partial and it's connected to whether it's my e-course or private one-on-one business coaching, because the one-on-one coaching is powerful. I had my own coach, in terms of guiding you specifically. So sure, there's general guidance, which is helpful and it can spark that desire to go deeper. But the moment that someone feels like, oh my God, and so I'll get a comment on YouTube and I'll say, here, listen, either get my course. And a lot of people who purchase my e-course then sign up for individual coaching because it's just a process. And people are either ready for it or they're not. And when you're ready to have a coach, you want to take it to the next level.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are your top tips for those who might be struggling financially or who are just getting started and are trying to bring new clients in?
Yes. Top tips. Watch my YouTube channel because it's free and I'll give you 50 tips on that.
Awesome.
One is just try to meditate on or envision like what you really want to be doing with your career instead of getting lost in desperately trying to find yoga classes. Another is start to see yourself as an entrepreneur, as a business. Do things that make you happy. Do things that inspire you. In a market, a business that has to do with serving others and healing, you yourself have to. More so than someone who's sitting in a cubicle all day, working for someone else. Not to say that that's bad, but as someone who's going to be out there serving, you have to stay inspired. You have to stay inspired. Like self-care is even more imperative for a yoga teacher than not. And it's so easy. And I know from experience to skip that part. And then all of a sudden I'm like, why am I not inspired to teach anymore? And that comes through. Be willing to ask for help. Be willing to get a coach. Be willing to start healing your relationship with money because you deserve to make money for what you're doing because money is an energy. These are some tips. There's many others, but hopefully that's enough to get the ball rolling and to get you thinking in a different direction. And none of this will take away from the spiritual component. In fact, it will enhance it because I thought of myself to be a certain type of person for many years. I used to teach for free because I thought that money was like dirty and I shouldn't be charging because this is yoga. And it's like, whoa, I'm a different person now because I opened up to that flow. And it has actually grounded me deeper because money is our root chakra. And if we're not going to get down and dirty and like connect with that, it's hard to sustain in this society. If you want to go move somewhere and become a monk, sure, don't ask for money. It's fine. But know that there's so much more abundance. And abundance comes in all senses of the word for you, for your clients, for your students when you open up to it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I guess we can just move into since you already were talking about your YouTube channel and all the other amazing tips and information that you have to share. I guess just how can people find more about you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Instagram, Shayna Hiller. That's my personal Instagram page. I also have an Instagram for it's Build Your Yoga Biz, but my primary source of information and inspiration for that product is Build Your Personal Yoga Business, either .com or on YouTube. You'll find it under the same name, and I have so much there.
Yeah,
and Facebook, Shayna Hiller. But yeah, that's where you'll find me. I stick to the two. No Twitter.
Yeah. You got to choose, right? You can't do everything.
And I don't know if that's because I'm like getting old, because I have like young nephews. They're like, oh, do you use this? I'm like, huh? What? Like, I can't even keep up anymore. I feel old saying that, but I'm cool with keeping it simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Anything else that you wanted to share before we sign off?
That's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been awesome. Thank you. It's been really great to talk to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the sweet questions, and I hope that this can serve anyone and everyone watching and listening.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.